Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Nature's Spirit. Today we're going to be doing a porcupine style dry fly emerger pattern. It's this guy right here. Instead of using hackle, it's a CDC style porcupine. So let's go ahead and jump on this thing. So for hook wise, we're doing a check nymph from Partridge. This is a size 14. I like this one because it has a little heavier hook and it'll help get my bottom down, which is what I want, below the subsurface. So we're going to start with some dark thread. This is a pattern where I'm going to be kind of strict on thread colors, and I'll kind of explain that why when we get to the material. So, but first I'm going to get my thread started, and I'm going to bring this back down here, about to where the bend gets extreme. And for a tail, I'm using our dry fly tailing. This is olive. And we're just going to peel off, depending on what size you're going to do, proportionate to your fly. I'm using a size 14. So we're going to want a little thicker of a tail. And I'll always start longer. Get 1-2 wraps set. Because then I'm going to take it and I can pull this to length. There we go. It's much easier to do that than it is to try to set the length right off the bat. If you pull to length, you can get a little more precise, and you're not unwrapping a bunch of stuff because you think it's too long or too short. You can just manipulate it and play with it right there. Okay, I also want to make my body a little thicker for this, so we're going to bring our thread back and then forward again. There we go. Now this is why we're using dark thread to start. This is a new material from Hens. This is a pearl body quill. It's actually got a nice texture to it. They came out with a whole bunch of new colors in pearls and UV styles, and I'm really enjoying these. So I'm going to start off, same thing. I'm going to pull this to taper instead of trim it. Oh, I pulled it too far. There we go. And then I'm just going to wrap this back. And then forward. Because this is a tinsel, I want to make sure that my body wraps are very even, so I don't have any gaps. There we go. I'll trim that excess off. Now, this is a curved hook. What do we always do when we have a curved hook? This is the benefit of a rotary vise. And I dropped the tinsel. Oh, that's never good. Ah. Okay, we're back. We're back where we should be. Now that we've wound up our spool, these tabs here, they pull out. Utilize them. Don't do what I just did, which was just drop it everywhere. But now that we're going to wrap, we can go ahead and get this set up. Okay, so we're going to wrap our body. And the reason we put our vise sideways is so that it doesn't slip down or forward. We can get an even wrap up our hook. You don't have to worry about slippage or anything. And this helps keep it a bit on the even side, as long as we don't drop the spool. Keep going, keep going. We're going to go just a little over half, basically between a half and 2/3 of the body. There we go. One more wrap. And voila. Okay, we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. We're going to snip, put that aside, tie it down, and cover that. We want to be right there, between half and 1/3. Okay, I'm going to tie off my black thread. Now, why we use the black thread with the dark tinsel is because tinsel can be transparent at times. This is number 220. It's a very dark color. So we want to keep the darkness by using a dark thread. If we use a light color thread or a bright color thread, we'll get a transparent concept where the thread will actually show through your tinsel body. We've done that in previous videos and stuff where we're actually manipulating the color of the fly itself. By doing that, And just to secure this, because it is a tinsel, we're going to do just a little bit of resin. This is a super thin from Raid Zap. We'll let that do its work because it'll soak into the thread a little bit and help keep that tied down, and you're not having big gobs. Okay. Now, we're going to go to white thread, and I'll explain why we're switching threads. This is a parapost pattern with white foam. Using a colored thread will show up with our dubbing loop we're going to do out of the CDC. We're not going to wrap the CDC around the foam post. We're actually going to create a dubbing loop and twist the dubbing loop up. So, bring our thread down. Now, foam-wise, this is just our 2mm bug foam cut into thin strips. The thickness depends on the fly you're tying. So we'll get a start here, just a little behind the eye, get that wrapped down, and we'll secure this all the way back to where we want to start our post. Pull forward, there we go. It's always good when you're doing this to pull forward to see how far back you are, because if you pull forward, I'm going to undo a little bit, but if you pull forward and you see your thread underneath it and such, that means your post isn't back far enough. Okay, so we're there. We're going to take our dubbing loop tool, get going with that. A good way to gauge distance on this too is if you're using a clamp or something, depending on the space, to measure how much you're going to use, measure the length of it with your tool and then go about an inch longer. That way you're not creating a loop that's too long or too short. You're gonna gauge it correctly. And then we just want to go 1, and that'll secure it. And we'll put that back. This here is a new dubbing we've got. This is out of our Hare's Mask blend. It is our squirrel blends. So what we did here is, because we can't get enough squirrel to make the dubbing anymore, we decided to make variegated blends to mimic the coloration of squirrel dubbing. Now this is a good spiky dubbing. Nothing on this planet will ever be as spiky as squirrel is, but this is pretty good. This is one of our best-selling dubbing, and I really, really like tying with this. Okay, so we're going to get back, and we're just going to go ahead and twist this on. I'm using a pre-waxed thread, so I don't need to wax it if I don't want to. And we'll get enough on there to do that front section. Do a couple twists, a couple wraps to secure, and then we'll just give it a nice twist down. Make it nice and fine. And I'll always suck it into the tube of my bobbin to help grab it. Get a nice poofy head up here. There we go. Boom, looking good. Okay, now we're going to bring our loop into play. Now what I'm doing for this is our mallard dye, or our dyed mallard gray CDC. So this is to mimic natural. And I'm using 3 feathers. I've already used half this to do the other fly. And I'm just going to flare these out a little bit. Make sure they're on top of each other. Come in with my clamp. And go push open. And I want to make sure the stems are going to be fairly close to even with each other. There we go. Well, it's always good to show the issues that you have, even as someone who's been doing this for years, because it lets people know they're not alone. Feathers don't always cooperate. And there we go. Now I'm not right up close to the stem. I do have a little bit of a gap, which is exactly what I want. I'll come in, cut right as close to the stem as I can. There we go. I want to have some edge there so I can put it in the loop and grab it. Now let's get our loop set. This is always going to twist on you a little bit, so you got to untwist it. There you go. We're going to set our CDC, close it, and there we go. Then I'm going to twist this around our swan neck on the Swiss clamp to secure it tight. Then I'm just going to move the CDC forward a little bit with my fingers. And I want this. I want it to be splayed like this. I want it coming out both sides. I don't want it all on one side. I'll give it a good twist. Let it spin together. Do another one. There we go. Now, one thing you got to watch. This is a 95 denier Lagarton thread. When you're using smaller threads for dubbing loops, you do need to be careful on the amount you're going to twist, because you can break it. It does happen. I had that happen to me earlier today, tying a couple of these up. So, okay. We've got first wrap. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my post with my fingers, go over, use my ring finger, and wrap up by hooking my ring finger on the loop and just wrapping it up like you would a hackle. You do that for the whole loop. And keep going. There we go. Okay, that's wrapped up. I'm going to come forward, pinch the thread and the foam together. Get one. Oop, hit the light. Two. And three. That'll secure it. That's one of the benefits of having a heavy bobbin too, is I can drop it and not worry about it coming undone. So I cut the loop. I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut the foam just in front of the eye. I want a little bunch of foam there. It's an indicator for me, helps me see it. And just 1, 2, 3. Make sure we're behind the eye, which we are. That's great. Grab our whip finish. And just put it in the back. 1, 2, 3. Give it a little tug to secure it. Trim. You see it's got a kind of a bushy mess up here. We'll clean up the bottom a little bit. There we go. Okay. So this is a big bushy mess. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, bring it up, pull everything back to where my tail starts. Trim there. Then I'm going to pinch this up here. And just even it out. Here we go. Boop. There's this nice bushy emerger. So we'll just take a touch of resin, do the super thin, right under knot, and there she goes. Alright, that's it guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Would love to see some photos of the ones you guys tie, and tag us in them. So, till next time, see you guys later.